This is Matthew McConaughey.
Natalie Portman.
James Patterson.
Michael Ian Black.
And you are listening to
Five Questions
with Dan
Schawbel.
Sigrid, welcome to Five Questions.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
In your childhood, you planned to become a teacher or a lawyer because you thought that music would be uncertain. What made you reconsider?
Ooh, you've done your research. The thing that made me reconsider is that I just knew that I felt at my best when I was by the piano and playing. I was quite shy growing up, and I grew up in a very small town in Norway. And I just didn't think that becoming, oh, I'm so sorry. That was my alarm. I grew up in a very small town in Norway, and I guess I didn't think that music could be a possible career path, but I just realized I had to give it a shot, and I did. And here we are.
And so you became popular and grew a fan base in Europe, but I assume one of the big challenges was to move to the US market. How did you take your popularity from one country to another country?
Oh, hi, Erica. I mean, it's still a work in progress, but I think my only, if this is like turning into an advice to other European artists who's like trying to make it in the US, is just you just have to start somewhere, and you got to tour, and you got to put in the work. There's no other way to do it, I think. And it's really been incredible to meet our fans over in the US. Really, really exciting.
But technology must be play a pivotal role here, because you became very popular on Spotify with like a billion plays. So my assumption is that all this technology and your ability to use these tools to get your music out there had a huge impact in terms of your brand recognition and people being able to connect with you, even if you weren't touring in that country yet.
True. And I guess, I've heard many times in my career that living in Norway has been kind of like holding me back a bit. But I also do think that can be a big strength, because it is different, I guess. I have a completely different life here in Norway. It's a very different pace and rhythm to what life in New York or LA or London is. And to show that side of my life through social media, through like brand partnerships. Like I've been a Gore-Tex ambassador, which was really fun. I guess not the brand partnership you expect of someone making pop music, but it worked, and it's me. And yeah, it's been really, really fun.
Why do you consider yourself both a perfectionist and lazy, and what are your struggles with both?
Sorry, I love that. Oh God. I feel like I'm being called out, but it's true. I am both. I'm both a perfectionist and I am lazy. I think the perfectionist, that's probably the reason why I am an artist, maybe. I do see myself as quite driven and very ambitious, and I love to see good results. I love that feeling when you know you work for something and it happens. So yeah, I really cherish those career highlights that we have had, and yeah, are gonna have, and cross my fingers. But yeah, this laziness, yes, it might be a personal trait, but maybe sometimes I blame it on the culture. And I think in Scandi culture, it is your time after work is very important for everyone. It's a cherished time, and like cherished by the way we do our works. Like it is common that you do finish your work at like 4 or 5 p.m. and then you go home and you have your hobbies, your activities. And to make sure that I still have time to do my hobbies when I come home after touring or even on tour or traveling, that's for me, that has been the key to why I'm still semi-sane after doing this music thing for a couple of years now.
Well, Europe in general, people work to live, and there's the importance of taking vacations and having mandatory time off. It's kind of driven into the culture, whereas in America, it's burnout central. I mean, you and your colleagues and friends probably don't talk about being burned out as much. I mean, you work really hard, but in the US, it's like, it's very prominent. It's everybody.
Yeah, because I was almost a bit like worried now to like be like, yeah, but this is how it is in Scandinavia, because I'm not really sure how it is in the US now, but yeah, it's still this type of work hard, play hard mentality, or especially in the big cities, I suppose.
Yeah, and perfectionism is a very interesting word too, because you know you need to have the high quality because there's so much competition in your industry, but at the same time you also have to let go of it eventually so it gets out there so people hear it. So it's this fine line between, you know, having it being high quality but making sure it's getting out.
Exactly. And that being a perfectionist, and like I'm sure there are people that are way more perfectionist than I am, but it being that in an industry that is very fast, everything is and especially now, also after these past 2 years when we've literally just been in front of our screens, everything's fast, content, and you kind of have to join that train a little bit, if not you're going to fall off. But I think also that's a bigger discussion. It's always, even though I like that fast pace, I think I'll always come back to quality over quantity. It needs to be.
I think it's smart. I think it's really, I think we had a time, there was a brief period of time when, you know, if you produced a lot, that could help. But I think we're now in this era where there's so much content. So to stand out, you really need to have higher quality because, again, like everyone's producing and publishing content so often every day, every second. And people's attention spans are like -2 now. So in order to even capture someone's attention, it has to hit them. It has to be really good. And you want them to share it because everything is word of mouth now.
It is. And it can be frustrating. It's not, there's no certain like formula for how to break through. Because even if you put a lot of effort into something, the algorithms might say, nope, moving on to the next. But yeah, no, I agree. I think quality and good music will always find its way. And
Definitely.
I'm planning to stay around for quite a long time. So yeah.
And comparing and contrasting your first album with this new album that you have coming out, what have been the challenges and how has this one helped you grow more as an artist?
Yeah, so there will be an album coming out, which is very exciting, and there will be new music very soon. But I think the process of writing this new album was quite different than the first one. On the first record, Sucker Punch, I was touring the world. I can't remember how many. I think in 1 year I had like almost 300 travel days, which was
Wow.
insane. It was insane. I was just constantly going somewhere. And I wrote a record with my collaborators in there somewhere. I have no idea kind of how we managed to fit that in, but it was a very hectic yet incredibly exciting way of writing a record. A lot of meetings with a lot of new people all the time, and yeah, a lot of people involved. But for this second one, it was made in a world that was flipped upside down. I couldn't travel as I did before, but it gave me, in the middle of the really difficult time we all had, and the worries of the world that came with it, I did find some strange peace in being stuck in one place and being creative in that, and it kind of made the record flow a bit more. I think maybe you can hear in the music even that I'm giving myself a bit more space to like breathe in the songs. It's not as hectic maybe, but hopefully more effective. It's it is a pop record, but it's definitely leaning more in the alternative direction, and I'm very, very excited about it.
Yeah, there's something about being restricted. I mean, I always think of Twitter where you only have 140 characters. Like a lot of people can be creative on Twitter because you're forced to keep it within these 140 characters. And this restriction of, you know, being in a pandemic and, you know, spending a lot of time at home and looking at your screen and kind of playing. And I think that can also harness creativity. I think creativity can come from everywhere.
Yeah.
And anywhere.
No, I agree. Yeah.
And what's your best piece of career advice?
Ooh, saying no. I believe in saying no more than yes. my team will probably laugh if they hear this. They're used to me asking a ton of questions about everything all the time. I analyze a lot and I need to know the facts before I make a decision. I'm sure most people do. It's not that I'm like very different, but I do really believe in the power of saying no. And I think there's been moments in my career where I've said no, and in the moment it's like, oh, what am I doing? I'm throwing away like a big opportunity. But then months after, I'm like, you know what? Maybe it wasn't the right time and it wasn't the right place. And maybe that opportunity doesn't come back. But then something else will come up. And I do try to go with my gut. Is this the most cheesy answer you've gotten so far?
No, it makes me reflect. I mean, when I was in my early 20s, I was asked to speak at Google, and I actually turned it down because I didn't feel like I was ready to speak in front of that audience. And then later on in life, I ended up doing it again. But I knew in that moment, I'm like, I could do it, but it won't be good, and it'll be a video online that I have to live with, and I'll just work myself up to be able to do it again. So I think it is timing, and everything is an opportunity cost, because if you do one thing, you're not spending that exact same time doing something else. Right. So I think it's going to get harder because, you're going to get more popular. There's going to be more opportunities. You're going to have to siphon through more opportunities, so I think that having these good senses now is going to be helpful, because it's not like you're going to have fewer opportunities tomorrow than you had, 5 years ago.
Oh, thanks. But I'm curious, how was it then when you talked at Google for the second time?
It was much better, but I was still really young. And if I did it again, it would be better. But you could always say that, because we're always learning and developing. And, it's been like 200 speeches now. So I'm sure that if I went back, it would be much more polished. But like you could say that with anything, the 300th time you were on stage, you were probably, much better than your first time on stage.
Oh God, when I look back at footage of me playing now, I thought I was the shit when I was like 19 performing. And sorry, can I swear? But yeah, I thought I was like it when I was performing at 19 with my songs that I just written. And I look back at those footages now and I'm like, oh no, why is this on the internet? But I think there's something really beautiful in that, and in trying to, again, but live in the present. And that not meaning like, oh, you have to like stay focused in the present and like enjoy the moment. For me, it's more, I mean, I can't live up to this, but I'm saying it anyways, to try not to be so self-critical of yourself in the moment of like, no, but I can be so much better. It's more, okay, but this is where you are now. And that's pretty cool. So enjoy it. And I'll try to live more by that.
That's great advice. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.